Hello there, it's midnight and you're watching Nightline with me, Anita. The headlines. GEG provisions not scrapped may be reintroduced in the future. Also, India tunnel collapse, 41 trapped workers rescued after 17 days. We begin the bulletin with this story. 9 workers are feared dead after a building under construction collapsed into Dr. Lim Chong Yu Expressway in Bayan Lepas, Pulau Pinang. Initial report from the Fire and Rescue Department said the incident at the construction site near the Malaysian Fisheries Development Board, or LKIM, occurred at about 9:58 p.m. It said rescue efforts were ongoing, adding that the status of all victims was still unknown. The proposed generational endgame, or GEG provisions, had to be removed from the amended version of the Control of Smoking Products for Public Health Bill as they are unconstitutional. Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, however, insisted that the GEG provisions, which seek to ban smoking and vaping among those born after 2007, were not completely scrapped and may be reintroduced in the future. According to Dr. Zaliha, the government had to remove the GEG provisions from the latest version of the anti-smoking bill after taking into consideration the views from the Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, due to potential constitutional arguments. She said in the process of drafting the bill, the AGC had said that the provision would contradict Article 8 of the Federal Constitution, which touches on equality and can be challenged in court.
Disebabkan oleh pandangan yang diberikan oleh AGC yang kita bimbang juga ada, esoknya akhirnya kita tak dapat melepasi dan address the issue of kelompongan, maka kita mendahulukan mana yang lebih penting, iaitu pada kali ini kita mendatangkan dahulu RUU yang put aside first, bukan maksudnya kita lupakan terus, put aside first GEG, tapi memastikan undang-undang yang lebih ketat dalam pengawalan produk merokok ini, dan kemudiannya kita masukkan minors, which is less than 18 years lah.
In a briefing with the media in Parliament on Tuesday, Dr. Zaliha also mentioned that in addition to the GEG, provisions related to smoking devices had also been dropped, as they were already regulated by the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry. However, the minister did not provide a timeline for when the government would reintroduce the now omitted provisions. The new bill only mentioned the prohibition of selling any tobacco product, smoking substance or substitute tobacco product to any person who is a minor under Clause 13 and prohibits a minor from smoking or using any tobacco product in Clause 17. Earlier in Parliament, Dr. Zaliha retracted the second reading of the second version of the bill that included the GEG provisions. She then tabled a revised bill under the same name for its reading in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday. Dr. Zaliha also told the House that the second reading will take place on Wednesday. Opposition MP for Bukit Gantang, Datuk Syed Abu Hussein Hafiz Syed Abdul Faisal, openly pledged his support to Prime Minister. Openly pledged his support to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim and the Unity Government in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday. He also called on former Prime Ministers, namely Pagoh MP Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and Bura MP Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, to help Anwar in building the nation and ensure political stability.
Oleh itu, demi negara yang tercinta, saya meminta Tambun, Pagoh dan juga Bura, buanglah yang keruh, ambil yang jernih. Marilah Pagoh dan Bera sebagai bekas Perdana Menteri bersama-sama membantu Tambun membina masyarakat madani.
According to Syed Abu Hussein, he is willing to contribute and help the government in creating a Madani society, as well as tackling the rising price of goods and cost of living. Syed Hussein is the 5th MP from Bersatu to back the Unity Government. Previously, 4 elected representatives from Bersatu declared their support for Anwar. They are Jeli MP Zahari Kecik, Gua Musang MP Muhammad Azizi Abu Naim, Kuala Kangsar MP Datuk Iskandar Zulkarnain Abdul Khalid and Labuan MP Datuk Dr. Suhaili Abdul Rahman. Just minutes after Syed Abu Hussein declared his support for Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has reiterated that he had never imposed strict conditions on the allocation for opposition members of Parliament, including forcing any MP to declare support for him. He said he had only asked opposition lawmakers to engage in discussions with Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadila Yusof on development allocations for their respective constituencies as practiced in the democratic system.
Soal peruntukan itu usah dipanjangkan. Unding dengan baik dan selesaikan. Tak ada syarat ketat. Ada yang mengatakan syarat. Saya tengah kempen. Maki hamun saya. Ini Perdana Menteri tak guna. Dia minta sokong dia baru dia bagi peruntukan. Saya tak pernah sebut begitu.
Anwar said this during the Prime Minister question time in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday in response to Arau MP Datuk Sri Shahidan Kasim's question regarding the allocations for opposition MPs which have yet to be finalised. The Prime Minister also stated that until now there have been no official negotiations regarding the allocations conducted by the opposition bloc. Anwar added that it was unreasonable for the opposition to refuse to engage in negotiations when they themselves desire a spirit of democracy in the country. He pointed out that when the opposition was part of the previous government, they had insisted on the same negotiation process with the then opposition, but now act as if they are unaware of it. Now, the Prime Minister has revealed to the Dewan Rakyat that the government will immediately establish Permanent Disaster Relief Centres, or PPKB, with the pilot project to begin in 9 states. Anwar said that the PPKB involves a ceiling cost of 5 million ringgit each centre and is set to provide better protection for flood victims than temporary relief centres, PPS.
Jadi pusat ini boleh mungkin gunakan apa-apa kegiatan komuniti sementara tetapi di reserve dengan satu persiapan supaya tidak jadi PPS. Jadi kemudahan itu akan jauh lebih baik.
On the government's preparedness to manage flood disasters and the northeast monsoon season, Anwar said an early allocation of 241 million ringgit had been channeled for use in 164 districts. He added that pre-flood preparations have also been stepped up through community-based disaster risk management. He also said that 73 mobile pumps have been placed at all flood hotspots nationwide, as well as upgraded the flood warning siren system and web camera stations. Anwar stated that the Social Welfare Department is also ready to activate 8,481 PPS, which can accommodate over 1.6 million evacuees nationwide. It was reported previously that the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, DID, has identified 5,648 flood hotspots nationwide during the northeast monsoon, which is expected to last until February.
We have decided to offer a reward, 50,000 ringgit.
Memasuki hari ke-6, nasib remaja perempuan warga Island, Nora Ann Quiring.
Kampung ni belum pernah ada berlaku kes besar macam ni kan, kes pelancong hilang.
Dan mayat tu dibawa keluar menggunakan helikopter.
The granting of a blanket diesel subsidy gives room for unscrupulous parties to misappropriate or smuggle this commodity in the black market. In his speech read by Acting Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Dato' Amizan Muhammad Ali at the opening of the Symposium on Cost of Living ESCOL 2023 in Putrajaya on Tuesday, Deputy Prime Minister Dato' Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said, as such, it is not appropriate for the government to continue with the current method of granting subsidies, as it is unfair to the target group comprising people who really need assistance.
Kita perlu akui bahawa pemberian subsidi daripada kerajaan ini telah membantu dalam menstabilkan harga, menjamin bekalan dan secara tidak langsung membantu rakyat dalam mengurangkan beban kos sara hidup. Namun, limpahan manfaat daripada pemberian subsidi secara pukal sejak sekian lama ini turut dinikmati oleh golongan yang berpendapatan tinggi dan bukan warga negara.
He also said the impact study report on petrol and diesel subsidy program for selected transport sectors showed that the T20 group on average used 399 ringgit worth of RON95 petrol per month, while the B40 group used an average of 243 ringgit per month. In 2022, the government allocated a substantial 91.9 billion ringgit for subsidies, signalling a considerable increase compared to previous years. In the meantime, Armizan said the government is conducting an audit on the cooking oil subsidy to resolve the issue of leakages, with a report expected to be completed in January. He added the audit, which began last month, would help the government to determine the actual needs and streamline the subsidy system.
Kita sasarkan by January akan selesai audit. Mungkin masa itu ada menteri barulah yang akan umumkan tentang kes-kes yang kita perolehi, dan ada juga kes yang kita ambil tindakan immediately untuk show cause letter, dan juga ada juga yang kemungkinan kita akan kurangkan kota-kota tertentu.
Armizan also said the government needed to come up with a mechanism to prevent leakages and misappropriation of subsidized cooking oil, which were detrimental to the people. He added the government originally allocated 500 million ringgit in cooking oil subsidies for this year, but projections showed that the figure would increase by almost fourfold to 1.9 billion ringgit. In another development, Armizan said a special cross-ministry committee on the implementation of targeted subsidies for RON 95 petrol had been established. He also stated that the proposed mechanism for implementing targeted subsidies for RON 95 petrol would be tabled by the Economy Minister at the coming Cabinet meeting. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has dismissed Aman Palestine's threat of legal action if the agency does not unfreeze the NGO's bank accounts in 3 days. Its Chief Commissioner, Tan Sri Azam Baki, said the anti-graft agency would not lift the freeze on the organization's accounts, adding that it was ready to take on any legal challenge from the NGO. In a statement on Tuesday, Azam said the freezing of the assets was done to facilitate investigations in accordance with Section 44(1) of the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act, which permits an enforcement agency to issue an order to freeze any property of any person or any terrorist property. He added that the MACC is prepared to present justifications to the court regarding the frozen assets and welcomed any legal action taken against the investigation. Azam also stressed that the MACC is both responsible and mandated to investigate any allegations of misconduct and abuse of power thoroughly, especially cases involving public interest and financial mismanagement. The graftbuster is also carrying out its duty professionally without any ill or malicious intentions towards any party. At a media conference on Monday, Aman Palestine's lawyer Muhammad Rafiq Rashid Ali said the MACC had 3 days to unfreeze the organization's bank accounts or face legal action. On Thursday, MACC froze 41 bank accounts belonging to Aman Palestine and several other companies, which had a combined total of 15.8 million ringgit, as part of an investigation into the alleged misappropriation of 70 million ringgit by the NGO. Next on Nightline, Gaza truce appears to be extended. News from the foreign front when we return. Stay tuned. Tunnel in India's state of Uttarakhand, rescuers finally managed to bring out all 41 workers out on Tuesday night. The labourers were pulled out through a passageway made of welded pipes, which rescuers previously pushed through dirt and rocks. Once the men had been reached, 3 teams of 4 rescuers entered the area they were trapped in to prepare the workers to be pulled through a pipe to safety. A 41-bed separate ward has been readied at the Community Health Centre in Chinyalisor for the evacuees, with 41 ambulances waiting outside the tunnel to rush them there. The rescue mission has grabbed the country's attention for the past 17 days. The workers were trapped on November 12th when a landslide caused a portion of the 4.5-kilometre tunnel they were building in Uttarakhand state to collapse about 200 metres from the entrance. The collapsed tunnel is a section of the ambitious $1.5 billion Char Dham highway project envisioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to connect 4 Hindu pilgrimage sites through an extensive network of roads spanning 890 kilometres. Over in South Africa, at least 11 people were killed while 75 more injured when an elevator carrying workers to the surface at a giant platinum mine plunged out of control and crashed. Impala Platinum said the devastating accident occurred on Monday at its Rustenburg mine, northwest of Johannesburg, as more than 80 employees were leaving a shaft at the end of their shift. The alert was raised shortly before 5 p.m. local time as the lift unexpectedly started descending by 200 metres, but was stopped by the conveyance counterweight, becoming trapped by the jack catches. Rescue operations have been completed and all the 86 employees involved were accounted for as investigations are underway to determine the cause of the malfunction. Up next, Gaza truce appears to be extended. News from the foreign front when we return. Excuse me, we are back, in fact, with news on the foreign front. A truce in the Israel-Hamas war appears to be extending for 2 more days as the 2 sides completed their 4th exchange of captives from Gaza for the release of Palestinians held in Israeli jails. While the Zionist regime had yet to officially confirm the truce extension by early on Tuesday morning, Israel's army radio reported that a new list of captives who were expected to be released later in the day had been received. The extension comes in the light of negotiations between Qatar, the United States and Egypt to prolong the pause in hostilities and allow more aid into the besieged enclave. Since the truce came into effect on Friday, Israel has released 150 prisoners in 3 batches. Hamas has also released 69 women and children, including 51 Israelis and 18 foreign nationals. Meanwhile, as the deal for 2 additional days of ceasefire raised hopes for further extensions, conditions in Gaza remain dire for 2.3 million Palestinians, battered by weeks of Israeli bombardment and a ground offensive that have driven 3/4 of the population from their homes.
واحنا هنا في معاناة يعني وبنشوف بيوتنا بتتهدم أحلامنا بتتحطم تعبنا وشقانا كله في البيوت وبنلاقيها متحطمة كيف بده يكون شعورنا يعني ايش بدي اوصف لك الحال اللي احنا فيه واحنا هينا يعطونا 4 أيام هدنة وشلنا ال4 أيام ايش بنيجي بنتحسر على حالنا وبنرجع فيهم
4 أيام لا تكفي و40 يوم لا تكفي و4 سنين مش حتكفي الألم والحسرة وعشرات السنين مش حتكفي الألم اللي احنا وصلنا له واللي اعتصرنا إلى الأبد في قلوبنا وفي عقولنا وفي ذاكرتنا.
استشهدت أمي، أول شهيدة كانت أمي، ثم أبي، ثم 4 من إخوتي، ثم 3 من أخواتي، ثم حوالي 10 من أولاد أختي وأخواتي. استشهدوا جميعا، حوالي 20 شهيد من عائلة نايف محمود حسين أبو شمالة، حوالي 15 شهيد 17 شهيد من أولاد عمي.
Up next, JDT handed heavy defeat. Sports right after this breather. Don't go away. Sports news now. Squash, the 2023 Hong Kong Open. National players Siva Sangari and Aifa Azman chalked up impressive wins to storm into the third round on Tuesday. World number 17 Siva Sangari faced no trouble defeating Egyptian player Hana Ramadan in straight sets. The 24-year-old kept her composure and used her experience to seal an 11-6, 11-6, 11-9 win in just 25 minutes. Siva Sangari will next play Holly Norton of Canada next. Joining her was Aifa, who played brilliantly to overcome another Egyptian, Nadine Shaheen. The Kadaf-born showcased a spectacular display of power to upset the world number 24 in straight sets, 11-6, 11-3, 11-9. She will next face world number 8, Rowan El Arabi, in the next round. Moving on to football now, the AFC Champions League. Kawasaki Frontale sealed their spot in the next round after they thrashed Johor Darul Takzim 5-0 in their Group 1 tie on Tuesday night. Kawasaki got on the scoreboard as early as in the 8th minute through Akihiro Ienaga, finishing off Takuma Ominami's pass. The hosts ran amok in the second half with 4 goals. Leandro Damião found the net in the 50th minute before Brazilian Marcinho made it 3-0 on the hour mark as the winger met Miki Yamane's cross with a diving header. Yu Kobayashi added the home side's 4th in the 69th minute, with Yamane putting the icing on the cake with 2 minutes to go after a good layoff from Taisei Miyashiro. Kawasaki's 15 points gives them an unassailable lead, with the Japanese side to close out their group campaign against Ulsan Hyundai on December 12th. In another match, Saudi Arabia's Al Ittihad made it 4 wins in 5 when they consigned AGM KFC to their 5th straight defeat with a 2-1 win in their Group C clash. Al Ittihad opened the scoring 30 minutes into the game when Fabinho's long ball found Abdurrazzaq Hamdallah and the Moroccan forward adeptly buried it into the net. Hamdallah fired home his second just 4 minutes later after Mohandan Al-Shantaki's pass across the box was blocked. AGMK grabbed a consolation in the 78th minute when Sanjar Tursunov's shot deflected into the path of Martin Boakier, who tapped it in to make it 2-1. Al-Ittihad will face Iran Sepahan, while AGMK, who are knocked out of the competition, will play their final game against Air Force Club of Iraq. When we return, teen remanded over attempt to rob. Don't go away. news on the local front. 2 men were arrested in Kota Baru, Kelantan for allegedly insulting the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and threatening the Prime Minister on social media. In a statement on Tuesday, Inspector General of Police IGP Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein said both suspects are locals aged 37 and 34. The first man was arrested in Kota Baru on Sunday for being the suspected owner or handler of a Facebook account which posted a seditious comment that causes hate or disloyalty towards the royalty. The top cop added that the second man was arrested on Tuesday at Jalan Padang Timba on suspicion of being the owner or handler of a TikTok account that posted criminal threats against Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Both suspects have been remanded until Thursday for further investigations under the Sedition Act, Communications and Multimedia Act and the Penal Code. Over in Negeri Sembilan, the Customs Department seized smuggled cigarettes with unpaid duties worth a total of almost 5 million ringgit in 2 separate operations on November 15th along the North-South Expressway. State Customs Director Muhammad Hafiz Ishak said the seizure found in 2 lorries was the largest haul by the department in the state so far this year. Initial investigations revealed that the illicit cigarettes, all bearing the same brand, along with fake customs labels and stamps, were being transported from the north to be sold in other states. The first lorry was found to be transporting 14,900 cartons containing 2.98 million sticks of cigarettes, while 17,650 cartons containing 3.53 million sticks of cigarettes were found in the second lorry. Authorities also arrested both lorry drivers who are in their 30s and seized both lorries. The case is being investigated under the Customs Act for non-payment of duties and Excise Act for excise duty evasion and fraud. In Kedah, a 13-year-old boy who tried to rob and stab an e-hailing driver with a knife in Taman Keladi, Sungai Petani on Monday has been remanded for a day. The remand order was issued by the Sungai Petani Magistrates Court on Tuesday morning to facilitate police investigations into the case. Kuala Muda District Police Chief ACP Zaidi Cik Hassan said the 65-year-old e-hailing driver did not sustain any injuries but instead bit the suspect's hand and managed to disarm him, after which the teenager got out of the car and fled. A police report was lodged around 8 p.m. on the same day and the suspect was detained 2 hours later. Zaidi added that the 25-centimetre long knife carried by the suspect was also seized. Initial investigations found that the teenager is the eldest of 4 siblings and his action was allegedly due to being angered by the victim for insulting him and wanted to reclaim the fare. A video footage of the incident, which has gone viral on social media, showed the suspect attempting to stab the driver, but the tip of his knife got struck in the seatbelt instead. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for attempted robbery. Nightline draws to a close this time around. We take a look at visuals of Thais partaking in the Loy Krathong Festival, releasing 600,000 krathong or ornate baskets down into the Chao Phraya River on Wednesday. You've been with me, Anita, for the past half hour. Thank you for watching and be well, Malaysia.